Okay, so if I've placed my spring and my retainer in my valve spring compressor, and I've got the open end towards the handle, I'm going to go ahead and tighten this down pretty much as far as I can. The smaller I make this, the more room I'll have to move around in the crankcase. Okay, so I'll tighten this down. First time I've tightened it down, I keep my hand over it in case it, comes flying out of there. Now, if you tighten this down and you realize that the hole is not facing the handle, just take your regular screwdriver and just turn it like a key. Okay? So the reason we want that facing the handle is I'm going to be placing that in here like this, retainer side towards the crankcase, and then I have to slide the valve through the valve guide, and I'll do this outside of it, and I have to be able to get the valve through that opening. Now, the only way I can move is back out. Okay? So, if the only way I can move is back out, do you see how if I am on the outside and then I move back out, I move that to the center? Okay, so it's going to be hard to see, but that's all I'm doing, is I'm moving this about 1/4 of an inch so that the middle locks on. Okay? Push it through on the wide side, moves through, pull out just 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 inch, and then this will be in the middle and locked. Okay? Also, make sure you put the right valve in the right spot. Okay, you've got two different valves. You've got your intake valve and you've got your exhaust valve. So, make sure that if you're going through the exhaust port and putting in your exhaust valve, that it goes in the right spot. You can tell these engines have been run, okay, so they're generally going to be a little more dirty, okay, a little more black, a little more carbon on them. Same with the valve. Your exhaust valve is also a little bit smaller. Okay, we're burning off some of that material, so your intake valve is going to look a little cleaner, and it's going to be a little bit bigger. Okay, so make sure you put them in the right spot. If you put your smaller exhaust valve in the larger intake valve, okay, you're going to have a gap for pressure to be relieved, right? So you're going to have low compression, your engine's not going to start. Okay? So here's how I do this. I'll push this through, got my exhaust valve going through the bottom, and you won't know if this is in until the valve goes all the way to the back. If the valve doesn't go all the way to the back, that means it's stuck on that retainer. Okay? I'm just going to take a look at this. And here's all you, unfortunately, this is all you're going to be able to see. Okay, this is all the way in, so I could move this valve in and out right now. If I go like this and move it that far, I can't take this valve out now. My pressure is still pulling out here, so I'm just going to, as long as I keep pressure this way and I open this up, that retainer will grab onto that bottom of that valve stem, okay, just like this. Okay, the retainer got the bottom of the valve stem, and it's on in the middle. Okay, now I'm just going to double check that that actually stayed on there, and as long as, show the camera there, as long as that spring is not touching the back, notice how it stops about 1/4 inch short, that's how I know it's hung up on the valve. So that's how I know it's on there. If your spring springs all the way to the bottom, take it back out and do it again. Okay? So one more time. Got my intake valve here. Okay? I'm going to open this back up. Make sure that I get the bump to the inside of the spring. Okay? And then I want the opening, okay, the wide end, towards the handle of the valve spring compressor. So is this correct? Those of you up front? No. Nope. Nope. Yes. Okay, I want to turn that so the opening is towards the handle. And now I can go ahead and compress this down. Okay. Now, I just think these are easier. You can use this. Okay, you just have to kind of work it backwards. Put it in there, compress the spring, then kind of flip the retainer around. This is just easier, at least for me. So I'm going to put this in, make sure I've got the intake valve through the intake guide. Okay. Went all the way through, clearly because I missed it. Okay. So There we go. Okay, all the way in, you'll see that just subtle motion out, keeping pressure out, and then relieving pressure on the valve spring compressor. And then once enough pressure is relieved, you can just pull this out because the spring is keeping it tight against the bottom of the valve spring. Okay. All right, so 2 valves, both of them in. Neither of the springs are touching the back. All right. Next step, make sure you've got your crankcase breather and your crankcase breather gasket. Put that in. You got your 2 bolts for that. Okay, those were 3/8. Put that in. I've seen people put their engines together with the muffler over the top. Trouble is, you can't see your crankcase breather with the muffler on, at least not real easily. So those people had a bad day because they had to start over again and place this back on. Okay? All right, so I'm going to stop this.